Welcome, travelers, to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable. For when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
Hello, travelers. PA Nightmares here. I've noticed that over 30% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So, if you're a new or returning viewer and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what I do, liking the video and commenting as well, as it really helps push this video into the algorithm and it really does help the channel grow. Well, I've taken enough of your time. On to the main event. Darkness settled over the town, whilst a white mist slowly crept its way along the streets. Clouds drift across the sky to unveil the large blood moon residing in the skies, causing every dog to howl loudly. As I stare out of my bedroom window, watching as the fog rolls in and blankets the house, the grandfather clock obnoxiously ticks with every moment that passes by. The agonizing slow passing of time further heightens my anxiety. The floor outside of my bedroom door creaks when someone passes back and forth in front of it. This has been happening every night for the last 2 weeks. The grandfather clock chimes when the hand strikes midnight, causing me to turn and face the door with a shotgun in hand. I inhaled deeply, raised the shotgun in my hand, and pointed it towards the door as I waited for the knocking to begin. It seemed like an eternity had passed by before the light raps at my bedroom door sounded. The 3 knocks, indicating that the thing I had been waiting for was now standing on the other side of that fragile wooden door. Knock. 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 The tapping on the door makes my hand begin to tremble. The more I try to put my index finger on the trigger, the more I begin to panic and question whether or not this is what I wanted to do. My parents and I had been staying in our rooms after 10 o'clock at night. It was the only way to protect ourselves from the monster that roamed the hallways at night. I knew deep down inside this was the right thing to do. Shit, it was the only thing to do at this point in time. It would solve everything. My parents would finally be able to start the process of grieving like they should have been doing this entire time. This was the only way to get my life back to the way it had been before all this tragedy struck. Knock. 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 More tapping at the door. God, what in the hell am I supposed to do? Do I blast a hole through my door in hopes of hitting the damn thing that has been terrorizing my family for the past 2 weeks? Or do I stay still, isolated in this room with the door locked? The gun falls back to my side when I hear the soft tone of voice from my brother. Can you open the door, Stan? I need to talk to you about something. Go away, I shout. Please, Stan. I don't have anyone else to talk to, he pleads. Get the hell away from my door. You're hurting my feelings, Stanley, he growls. The tone of my brother's voice is low, inhuman, and downright scary. My hands tremble worse than they had been not long ago. I raise the gun once more, point at the door, as the handle jiggles. This is the best thing to do. This is the right thing to do, I told myself as the door slowly creaks open. I quickly pulled the trigger when my brother stepped into my room. Brain matter and tissue covered the door upon the impact of the bullet. This would slow him down for a little bit. I had to come up with a long-term solution. You see, my brother committed suicide 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't matter how many times I blow his head off, because he just keeps coming back. I stand into my bedroom, my arm still cocked back, with a shotgun resting in my hand, and my finger on the trigger. My eyes focus on the brain matter that drops on the floor. The black-colored ooze, in place of where blood should be, slowly slides down the white wooden door. My feet crept closer towards the other side of the room, I grabbed the box of ammo sitting on my bed before making a dash for the door. I jumped over my brother's body, socks slipping on the hardwood floor of the hallway. As I run for the door, a few feet down from mine, I grab the door handle, twist it to the right, and push it open. My eyes widen at the exact moment that my jaw drops. The sight before me is ghastly. My mother is laying on the floor, her right arm outstretched, as if she had been trying to pull herself towards the door. A puddle of blood surrounded her head, and a human-sized bite mark lays just above her left eyebrow. Her shirt ripped to shreds like an animal had attacked her, which isn't possible. And again, the fact that my brother won't die isn't possible either. Our dog died 3 years ago, and we didn't have this problem. So what is different about my brother? Blood barely runs down the side of my mom's torso, and I hesitate as a sense of nausea washes over me. I cautiously kneel beside her. I didn't want to, but I have to see what that thing has done to her. As much as I hate to look, I lean over my mom to see that her torso is torn apart. Yet, the thing that has stood out most is that her organs aren't there. They're all gone. I felt sick to my stomach. The acid nestled deep within me, churning, just threatening to slide up the back of my throat and onto the corpse. I look away from her to see my dad's glossed over eyes staring at me. The brown irises, no longer that dark of a color, the milky film covering them unnerves me. I hesitantly crawl over to my dad, gun and ammo still in hand. Much like my mom, he had a bite mark on his forehead. His torso was also ripped open, but he wasn't crawling for the door like she had been. No, he lay on the floor, his head tilted to the right. My mind automatically begins to try and deduce what happened. Did he die before her? Or is there more than one thing like my brother roaming the house? The sounds of something scraping against the hardwood of the hallway floor caused me to jump to my feet. I quickly run into the adjoining bathroom and close the door as quietly as possible. I turn the lock on the door, which is louder than I was expecting. I hold my breath when I hear the horrible groans that I've heard since the first night he came back. The door handle to the bathroom jiggles like it had in my bedroom. I raise the shotgun once more. This fucker is starting to regenerate faster than before. I cock the gun, making sure the creature knows that I am still armed. However, the door handle doesn't stop moving.
You weren't being very nice, Stan. All I want to do is talk,
my brother says. Go away, Mike, I sternly say.
Please, Stanley.
No.
What are you afraid of?
He inquires. Fuck off, I raise my voice.
Mom and Dad were willing to talk.
Look how that turned out for them.
All I want to do is talk to you about something really important,
Mike reiterates. You can beg all you want. I am not opening that goddamn door for you, I retort.
Ugh,
he sighs.
You've always been the stubborn one.
Leave me alone.
I was really hoping that you'd just open the door like Mom and Dad did.
He sighs. The wood in front of me violently shakes upon the impact of something hitting it. The wood makes a slight breaking noise before it struck again. The process is repeated over and over until the middle section of the door is gone. My brother reaches his arm in and unlocks the door. I take a step back when the door swings open. Mike stands in the doorway, axe in hand, and a twisted smile on his face. My fingers slid against the trigger when I raised the gun higher, perfectly aligning it with his head before pulling the trigger. Once again, I watch as brain matter and what should be blood splatter against the nearest wall. I set the box of ammo on the sink beside me, grabbed 2 shells, tossed the used rounds behind me, and I loaded the gun. I cocked it back, aimed for the body, and pulled the trigger. His upper back partially explodes with the rounds hitting it. Pieces of his dead flesh fly in different directions. The box of ammo is in my hand for a second time tonight. I was ready to leave the room when a thought occurred to me. What will happen if I run out of ammo? I make the fastest decision I've made since shooting my brother. I tuck the ammo box underneath my right arm and cautiously step towards the body. I bend down and snatched a handle of the axe Mike had been carrying. I waste no time in jumping over the body and running out of those rooms. Something lunges at me when I slide into the hallway. I'm lucky enough to dodge it, but my eyes widen when I look up and see what it was. Standing in the hall were a few neighbors. Holy shit, there's more of them. I have exactly one bullet in my gun, and although I have the axe, I'd rather not get close to them unless I absolutely have to. I can count 4 other creatures, so 5 in total, if you count my brother. Let me reiterate, I don't know how fast these things regenerate, but I do know that I don't have much time until Mike comes back looking for me again. I inhale deeply, just watching as they continue to walk towards me. I lift the gun in the air for what feels like the millionth time tonight, and pull the trigger. The one that lunged at me falls to the floor, upon pieces of their midsection flying in different directions. My chest rises and falls when I see the others closing the distance between us. A loud groan sounds in my parents' bedroom. The axe is heavy, and there isn't any way that I'll be able to lift it while holding onto the shotgun, but I will be damned if I don't at least try. I inhale deeply, shakily breathe as I lean forward and lift my foot, just preparing to make the journey through the creatures that crowd my hallway. The sound of what seems like my mom's voice startles me. I start running, my feet loudly thumping against the hardwood floor. I raise the axe in my hand and thrust the metal blade at one of the things that reaches for me. The body hits the wall, slumping to the floor, that odd-colored goo leaking from the wound. What the fuck is happening? 2 more slowly walking towards me, seemingly cautious as to not get too close. I suddenly feel an unknown emotion wash over me as my legs carry me further down the hallway. I slam the butt of my gun into one of the 2 creatures' faces before raising the axe, bringing it down on their head. The sound of flesh ripping apart fills the air, and I watch in horror as their head splits in half. The same ooze squirts into the air, causing me to dodge it, and go after the 4th and final creature standing in my way of hopeful escape. I raise my left leg, kick the damn thing in the stomach, and joust the axe into the chest. I quickly pull the weapon back to me and run like hell down the remainder of the hallway. I reach the staircase just as something sounds behind me.
Oh, Stanley.
My brother's sickening voice sings. I jump the stairs 2 at a time, clearing them in a matter of seconds, before rounding the corner to the basement door. It seems stupid to run down to the basement, stupid to isolate myself in the lowest part of the house. Mike may know where to find me in about 3 minutes, given how fast his entire body regenerates this time, but there's a part of the basement that he doesn't know about. My parents don't even know about it. There are a series of secret passageways that lead underground. They connect through the town, and I found them a few years ago. I didn't bother to tell anyone in case I needed to use them for a situation exactly like this one. I am absolutely scared shitless despite putting on a brave face and shooting my brother in the head many times, despite slicing and kicking my way through the others. I don't know how in the hell my brother is back, and I don't know what he wants, but I have a feeling that he is not going to stop until he gets what he wants. And I think he wants me. I push the false wall in, causing the door-like feature to pop open. I slip inside and quickly close it behind me as I hear the basement door being torn down. I cautiously take a few steps backwards, away from the false wall, upon hearing the stairs creak and the moans of those fucking creatures. I'm honestly glad that he hasn't a clue as to the existence of these tunnels. It is probably the only way I'm going to survive. Those things will eventually find the tunnels, or find their way out of the house and around the town. The town. I hadn't thought about what could be happening, or if it was happening to anyone outside the neighborhood. I do as best as I can to carefully and quietly walk through the tunnels that I'm currently in. I know damn well that if I fuck up and make one sound, then those things will find me, and I'm not going to die tonight. A sudden thought popped into my head when I arrived at a cross-section of the tunnels. What if those things can smell me? What if they are like bloodhounds and can sniff out my whereabouts based on my scent? Surely that isn't the situation that I'm in. I was thinking to myself when I heard the sounds of people in the distance of the tunnel to my right. I freeze where I'm standing, too afraid of it being those creatures to move, when 3 people quickly run past me. "Wait," a girl hisses. "I think I saw someone back there." "Who the fuck would be running in these tunnels?" the boy asked. "Us, dumbass," a second girl says. "Fair point. Alright, let's go," the boy agrees. I stand there, still frozen, when the 3 figures appear out of the darkness once more, all of them with weapons in hand. "Are you alright?" a brunette girl inquires. Yeah, I'm fine." I shake my head. I didn't expect to see anyone down here. "Nor did we," the boy says. "I'm Stan." "I'm Kyle. This is Amanda and Haley." "It's nice to meet you all, but we need to get the fuck out of here before those things figure out where the hell I am," I say. The other 3 nodded their head in agreement before I followed them down the tunnel that was on my left. We walk through the twisting and turning maze of tunnels until we find a ladder leading towards a manhole in the road that happens to be directly in the middle of our town. Our best chance of survival is to find any other people that are still human, get more weapons, and pray like hell that we figure a way to kill these things once and for all. Kyle is the first person to climb up the ladder. He said that he would take the risk and pop open the manhole to see how the state of things were. Everything was fine. The late night teenagers and early people in their early to late 20s are walking around the downtown area, going to local bars, and just walking up and down the main drag. The 4 of us sighed in unison and climbed the ladder. We then managed to warn everyone out there that they needed to get to safety, grab a weapon, and prepare to battle those horrible things. Kyle, Amanda, Haley, and myself all hid out in the outdoor store, occasionally peeking out of the shielded windows while listening for any sounds resembling the terrible groans of the creatures. As it turns out, my brother wasn't the only person who had committed suicide 2 weeks ago. Kyle, Amanda, and Haley all had family members that decided life wasn't worth it anymore, and their family members came back on the same night that my brother did. Yet there was something we couldn't figure out. What in town is making people come back from the dead? The fog that had settled upon my neighborhood is slowly creeping into the downtown area, whereas the time was catching up with me. I have been awake for over 3 days now, and I'm utterly exhausted. My eyelids grew heavier with every passing moment of us silently waiting for the monsters to come. I must have fallen asleep at some point, because I woke up to Haley violently shaking me. She placed the index of her finger over her lips, telling me to be quiet, and that's when I heard it. The groaning of those horrid creatures. Shit, I think to myself as I quickly stand up from the place I had been sitting. I peer out of the blinds just as I hear a familiar voice.
"Come out, Stanley,"
Mike says. I do not want to answer him, nor do I want to go out there, but to sacrifice myself means that I save Haley and the others, then so be it. I turn away from the blinds to see the others staring at me with wide eyes. I nod my head, telling them I'll be fine. They all quickly give me a hug before I open the door to the room where I was hiding in. I cautiously walk through the store, walking out of the back door, making sure it's not locked behind me, just in case I need to get back in. I loaded my gun earlier. I'm still carrying the axe, and I've equipped myself with a baseball bat that will be used as an emergency weapon. I slowly walk out of an alley between the store and another building. I see my brother standing in front of a large group of those monsters. Mike sadistically smiles. When a thought occurs to me, he is standing in the exact spot his body landed when he jumped off the roof to the movie theater. I don't have time to even consider what I wanted to say, because the loud sound of bangs filled the air. I look behind me to see Kyle, Haley, and Amanda standing behind me with their attention focused on the creatures surrounding us. "Just go, we've got this," Kyle commands. "Alright," I nod. I slowly begin walking towards my brother, with the shotgun raised in hand. I pull the trigger, hearing the click before a loud bang sounds. I watch as the bullets hit the creature standing beside my brother. Damn it! I'm not a good shot unless I have 2 hands on the gun. I shoot the gun one last time, hitting the person standing on the other side of my brother. I drop the gun, deciding that it's better to be able to get closer in order to finally kill Mike for good. My hand begins to tremble when I approach Mike, because I don't want to do this again. I'm so tired of shooting my brother, so tired of trying to finally kill him when he already killed himself. I do as best as I can to at least keep 6 feet between him and myself. but the furthest I could keep was 3 feet, which gives me enough room to raise the axe and thrust it as hard as I possibly can towards my brother. The blade connects with the flesh of his neck. The sound of flesh being torn open, muscles and veins being cut in half, fills the atmosphere as I watch the blade glide clean through his neck, severing it. Blood squirts upward in the air before slamming down on his shoulders like a waterfall. The dark liquid slides down his shirt and drips onto the concrete. My brother's head hits the concrete just as a screeching noise rings in my ear. I look around, seeing all the monsters backing away, and it's when I realize that killing them in the spot that they took their own lives in, is the key to everything. I raise the axe once more and bring it down on Mike's heart. The blade strikes the concrete, which causes the shrieking to intensify. "We have to kill them in the spot where they died," I shout. I glanced over my shoulder for a mere second to see Kyle, Haley, and Amanda all doing what I had just done to my brother. The screeching continues with every monster they take down. A black swirling vortex opens up underneath my brother's body. It swallows him up before spreading to take the bodies of those that have been killed again. I turn towards the place where a lot of the monsters are. My hands tightly grip the handle of the axe as I take charge and hurry towards them, rage consuming me for having to deal with this fucked up situation. The fog that had settled over the town begins to retreat when the final body hits the place it had landed when the person originally killed himself. I turn around and watch the vortex consume the final person to see Kyle looking at me with wide eyes, along with Amanda and Haley. "Holy shit," Kyle says. "Remind me not to piss you off." I don't really know what that was about, I admit. I explained to them how this whole thing started, since my brother was the first person in town to kill himself. They seemed shocked at first, but then told me the story of how their loved ones died, which surprised me because it was the same manner as how Mike decided to take his own life. It took us a few days to clean up all the blood from the streets, to explain to the cops how everything happened and how I became an orphan. The vortex took my parents as well. We honestly thought that the police wouldn't believe us about what had happened, but it turns out that they all had to deal with the same situation as we had, so they weren't going to charge us for what we did in order to survive. A week or two after the incident with the town, I decided it was time to go visit my family's final place of rest. Mike was reburied alongside my mom and my dad. I remained in touch with Amanda and Haley. Hell, I even moved in with Kyle and his parents. I say only one prayer for my family before turning to look at Kyle. He was standing in front of his younger sister's tombstone. I was prepared to begin my walk over there when something tightly grabbed a hold of my ankle. I looked down to the ground to see a hand sticking out of the ground where Mike had been buried for the second time. "Son of a bitch," I say. I would like to thank tonight's author or authors for allowing me to use their works. If you enjoyed this, the author's links will be in the description below. Please check them out and let them know PA sent you. Also, if you like to walk around representing my realm and gaining new travelers, the links to my merch store, my website, and all my other social medias will be in the description below. As always, I'd like to say a special thank you to all my lovely Patreons. All of their names will appear on screen. I'll make sure to put all their links in the description below so you guys can check them out as well if you'd like.
But as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.